Have you ever stopped to reflect why some things simply shouldn't be said? Not because they are frightening or prohibited, but because words carry a power that goes beyond what we imagine. This power needs to be preserved wisely, and this knowledge does not arise from nothing, it is transmitted from generation to generation. As a legacy of experience and prudence died in my family, this wisdom has been circulating for centuries, moving from parents to children, from masters to disciples. I am Jewish, and in our culture, we have learned from an early age that keeping secrets is not a sign of fear but of intelligence. Talking too much can cost more than it seems. There are times when even the closest people don't need and they should know everything about you. Why is that? Because the word is not just sound, it is action. It can build bridges or fire them. Today, I want to share with you 10 things that, from my own experience, it is better to keep silent. They are not just loose advice, but lessons extracted from real situations that shape my worldview. If you think being transparent is always a virtue, I invite you to rethink this idea. Sometimes true strength is in the silence, in the discretionary ability to keep thoughts, plans, and emotions. And make no mistake, these themes are not trivial. They play in the most sensitive areas of life: dreams, finances, relationships, fears, and failures. Understanding this, you will see people, situations, and even otherwise. But warning now, this content is not for everyone. It is not for those seeking easy answers or passing entertainment. It is for those who are ready to take responsibility for their own lives, for those who want to cultivate wisdom and learn to dose their words in confidence. Pay attention. How many times have you seen someone share their plans with the world and, shortly after, see them crumble? This is because, when externalizing an idea, part of the energy that should propel it dissipate. In addition, alien, even well-meaning opinions can sow doubts and insecurities where there was before determination. And how many times have you noticed that by exposing personal problems, they become the target of gossip and judgments, while the solution is increasingly distant? Often, the best way is to solve things internally, with whom it really matters, without exposing your life to curious or malicious looks. Silence is not weakness, it is strength. It is the ability to maintain control over your own history. In my tradition, this has always been clear. There is an unprecedented code that teaches not to reveal everything that goes on within us, not out of fear, but out of respect for their own energy and time. So, what are these 10 things that should not be shared? What secrets you need to keep so as not to lose what really has value? The answers are coming. But first, I want you to understand it is not a rigid rules manual, but keys to become wiser and more resilient. The more you know how to keep, the more power you will have to transform your life and surroundings. Note, when someone is excessively frank, often loses respect. When you expose your flaws, it attracts more criticism than support. This is the reality, hard but undeniable. Therefore, based on decades of experience, I will share these 10 points that you must keep confidential to avoid traps and preserve your inner strength and peace of mind. Watch until the end, and you will not receive just tips, but a timeless wisdom, tested for generations. At the end, I will leave a personal reflection that can change your perspective on many things. So take a deep breath, open your mind, but keep your secrets well kept. Prepared? Let's start. We reach the heart of the issue. These 10 points are not a random list. They are instruments for better understanding of yourself and others, protecting your resources, and building wiser relationships with the world. Let's go to them one by one, with concrete examples and advice that make a difference. First, your dreams and projects. Never reveal your more ambitious plans to anyone. Why? Because they carry a unique energy, and by putting them into words, some of this energy fades. I remember, as a young man, telling friends and acquaintances about my desire to undertake and gain independence. At first, there was support, but soon the doubts came. This is very difficult. You won't make it. Better give up. These phrases, even said without bad intention, undermined my confidence. Over time, I understood dreams should be fed in silence, shared only with those who can actually contribute, and fulfilled with action, not with words. Second, your finances. Money is a delicate subject, and in Jewish culture it is treated with extreme caution. Why not disclose your gains or heritage? Because it arouses envy, expectations, and even conflicts. I met a man who, revealing his salary at work, came to be seen with other eyes. Some envied him. Others began to charge loans or favors. Financial information should be safeguarded to avoid unnecessary complications and negative energies. Third, family conflicts. The family is a sacred space where many problems should be solved internally. By exposing disagreements out, you risk losing respect and feeding gossip. I saw cases where couples shared their difficulties with third parties, and the result was a flood of contradictory advice that only worsened the situation. Family issues are pure intimacy and should remain this way. Fourth, your failures and errors. Many people believe that being open on failures is a sign of courage, but the truth is that excessive exposure can attract judgments and shake your reputation. I've been wrong, and when I share these experiences with selected people, I receive support. However, I'm making them public. I noticed that I became seen as someone incapable. The lesson? Work on your errors in particular without seeking validation or pity of others. Fifth, important commitments, promises, and agreements, especially in the business world, must be kept confidential to the right time. Revealing them prematurely can generate interference or even sabotage. Once I commented on an agreement that was about to close, and the result was a series of obstacles that almost made it unfeasible. Word given is honor, and honor preserves itself with discretionary. Sixth, your fears and uncertainties. How many times I saw people share their biggest fears with anyone, waiting for support, but harvesting in return does not empathize, but laughs or attempts to minimize their feelings with phrases like, "It's not that serious." There is a wisdom in the Jewish tradition that says, fear is an inner voice that must be heard, but not displayed to all. Force is in recognizing it, not in spreading it as a seed in the wind. Just imagine, you confess to a colleague who fears not being able to lead an important project. Instead of encouragement, you get a "you always overdo it," or worse, someone uses this information against you later. Fear, when exposed without discretion, becomes ammunition. Keep it to yourself or those who truly deserve your trust, people who, instead of judging, will extend their hand. Seventh, the history of your bankrupt relationships. Divorces, fights, love disappointments, all this is intimate ground where each scar has its meaning. By exposing these wounds to strangers or known superficial, you take two risks. The first is the trial. How did you let this happen? I would never do the same. The second, more subtle and dangerous, is to stain its own ability to rebuild. Many friends of mine, when sharing details of past relationships, saw these stories used as eternal reminders and new connections. Ah, you're that way, aren't you? A relationship that ended as part of your journey, not your current identity. Leave the past where it belongs as a lesson, not as a spectacle. Eighth, alien secrets you know. Confidential information about other people, whether failures, plans, or vulnerabilities, are like dynamite. Handle carefully or explode in your hands. I have witnessed someone to lose friendships of decades and valuable partnerships for not knowing how to silence what you heard and trust. Say, "But it was true." It does not justify the breach of confidence. Saying, "I only told you to the so and so," does not erase the damage. Debre, the Hebrew word for confidence, is the most valuable currency in relationships. Once spent without discretion, you can never recover it again. If anyone shared something with you secret, it is because they believed in their discretionary. Don't betray her. Ninth, your sincere and often lasting assessment of others. There is a difference between honesty and cruel ade disguised. Telling a colleague that your project is mediocre may sound like feedback to you, but is an attack on it. The truth, when not seasoned with touch, burns bridges. I learned to choose the moment and the way I express my observations. In public, never. In particular, only if it is to build, not to destroy. And yet, with whom it is mature to hear. Remember, not everyone is prepared for your truths. This does not make them weak, makes you responsible for those your words. Tenth, their existential anxieties and the fear of change. Purpose crises, anxieties about the future, the feeling of being lost, we all go through it. But turning these internal dialogues into public monologues is like opening the veins into a full room. Some will pity, others will retreat, and few will really know how to help. These are battles that are first locked within themselves, then if necessary with a tiny circle of trust. The philosopher Rabbi Nachman of Breslov said that man is the bridge between infinity and finite. Your doubts are part of this bridge, but need not be announced with each passerby. The essence of all this, keeping these 10 things, is not synonymous with closing the world or distrusting everyone. It is rather an act of self-preservation and respect for itself and for others. Each of these points is a lesson I learned in practice, often the hard path of error, and that I was passed on to generations who understood. Wisdom is not a knowing, but a knowing one, and how to apply this knowledge. Your life will earn lightly and depth when you master the art of selecting your words. People will see him with other eyes, not like someone distant, but as someone who knows the value of silence and trust. Merits are not announced, they reveal themselves in the actions. Dreams do not dilute in gossip, they are accomplished at quiet work, and respect is not required. He is conquered when you demonstrate deserve it. To reflect before speaking, before you share something intimate. Ask yourself, 1, will it bring me peace or more conflict? 2, Is this person worthy of this confidence? 3. Would I be comfortable if this were used against me? If the answer to any of these questions is no, keep it for you. The discipline of silence is as powerful as eloquence, sometimes more. And remember, the walls have ears, but the story has memory. What you choose to silence today may be what will preserve your tomorrow.